Do you think Ahly cares about everything everybody says? About the lasers, about the smoke, about the fireworks, about the hostile environment, about any of those things? Do you think that they care? Do you think they care about the delays of the game, or people criticizing them for the delays of the game, for the player acting for the ref, allegedly? Do you think that they care when they sit back and they say, team of the century? When they sit back and say, yeah, another star's in the bag. Welcome everybody to the George Mokoena podcast. My name is George Mokoena. I am your host, and this is a place where I look at some of the stories over the past few weeks that caught my eye, and I give you a little bit of my opinions and what I think of it, with the hopes of sparking conversations that we aren't having in South African football. So please, I'm hoping that you guys are going to jump into the comments, you're going to share the videos, you're going to have the conversations in the WhatsApp groups and all of that stuff. So let's get into it. I want to start here. I know I'm a little bit late to the party with this one, but there was a video circulating of an interview done on idiskitv of Monare and Ulinda Mtambu Figo, where Monare was speaking about how, the foreign players, man, when they went to go play France, I think it was the 5-0 game, when they went to go play France, he learned so much. He watched how they carry themselves, how they play, how intentional they are, and all of that. It was really eye-opening, and I think very honest from a professional footballer to come out and say those things. I had a bit of an issue with it on two fronts, because on the one hand, you ask the question of the players. This is Monare, who is an amazing player, who has had a great career. And he's saying that he's never chased like that in his life, where they were dragging him from pillar to post. And in my head, I started thinking to myself, Monare are playing national team level, aka at that point, he was one of the best that we had, playing for one of the biggest teams in the country, a team that is well historied. It's not a team that started in the mid-2000s. Our Pirates are 80-something years old? 87, if I'm not mistaken. That's how old the Pirates is, 1937. And you wonder that if you're going into that game, and that is shocking you there, what is it that is done at our clubs? Because for me, it feels a little bit like our clubs, just do the barest of minimums with natural talent, with the hopes that somebody else is going to develop the player, or somebody else is going to teach the player certain things. Or that you have to go to Europe. We're looking at like Aborile right now. Everybody's saying that he needs to go to Europe so he can finish off and learn certain things. So I'm watching this Monare interview, and I'm so happy that he was transparent with it and he was honest with it. And I can't help but think that then what is the point of Ukjima every day? What is the point of the analysts, the coaches, the technical teams? What is the point of the hundreds of people that work within a club, if not to get the players ready and intentional, and how they know how to carry themselves? Sometimes I joke about a PSL, and I say that, guys, if you were to pause a PSL game sometime, some of the PSL games, you were to pause it, and you were to ask, why are you standing there? Why did you make that pass? There was a part where he goes, if you do it with those guys, if you're with those guys, go to bashute, uzol pick up a netin, for example. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, these are professionals. On the one hand, I want to say and give them bail and say that it's not every player that's going to wake up and want to be the best ever. It's impossible to have that. Otherwise, we'd have hundreds of thousands of Ronaldos, of Messis. It's not every player. But at what point do you as a professional player go, I do the same thing? What Kante and Griezmann are doing overseas and learning overseas and learning at their clubs, I have similar facilities. I have similar time. I have similar resources, equipment. When am I going to sit back and say, okay, I need to get better? You know, I'm a big fan of the NBA. I'm a big fan of the NFL. And the one thing that you hear most from those players, the great ones, the big ones, even some of the mid ones, they'll tell you that I am one of 4,500 people that get to do this job. I'm going to hire a chef. I'm going to hire psychologists. I'm going to hire my own coaches. There's plenty of shooting coaches that they have, both lethal shooter and all those guys, purely for the fact that they want to get better. And when I'm looking at the players, I'm looking at it and I'm going, Mus, you watch Barcelona. You watch Real Madrid. You watch Man City. You watch them. Are you analyzing games afterwards? Are you looking at your movement afterwards? What type of improvements are you looking for? Or are you just coming to work? But the second part of this conversation that I think is very important is also to note that, like I said, it's not every player that can sit down and think about those things and want to do that and want to get better and want to hire and want to do all of that. But you know what happens? Another thing I've learned about overseas. They've created an environment where you have to do those things. They've created an environment where you can't get away with doing the barest of minimums, especially at the top level. He was speaking about Abo France, Nabo Mbappe. The amount of time and structure that is put into those players for them to learn all of those things. It's not because they're more talented. It's not because they're more hungry. But it's also because their clubs, their countries, their families, everything around them, their managers, their agents are trying to put around them a structure that you wake up having done those things as part of, I watch a lot of athlete podcasts and they speak about their hard work and they speak about how, it's only X amount of us that get to be here and all of that stuff. But then they put into these regimented, structured programs where your every move is accounted for, where you don't have to worry about life and all of those things, where they make sure that we are grooming you to be the best right now. How many of those places do we have in SA? How many institutions can we say have built players? Like legit built players? Outside of your Sundownses. Outside of maybe you can point to Supersport. How many have actually made people better? And how important is that? Because Griezmann did not wake up knowing that he's going to drag Monare here and Kante is going to go there. And when Monare goes back and goes to Kante, uyochiga ayelena. Those are things that are taught, that are coached into the players. So I ask a lot, and if there are any former players or any guys, coaches that can explain to us more about it, how much of the tactical work, the technical work, the growth work is made? How much of the planning, of the movement, of the this, of the that, how much of that is given to the players? Because we find a PSL where we are hoping that players who have been in the PSL for a very long time can profit from a striker's coach now. In that story, Thabang Monare speaks about Hugo Broos, and he says Hugo Broos told them that they were going to learn, they were going to see. That he wasn't mad that they lost at the end of it, because he was kind of expecting it, and he told them that, no guys, relax on. You're about to go play real football or see real football be played. After a long career, after development, after this, after that, even to get to the national team level, that's when those questions are asked. When we know about Mbappe, they've been asked those questions since they were 16. They've been put into those situations since they were 15, 14, 13. What is going on at our clubs? And why are we not getting players right? I'm old enough to remember clearly when Penny came back to the country. And Upeni was overweight, came back to Pirates, and he lit the league alight. Hey, that man was scoring and doing everything. Just because Upeni has had the luxury of going overseas and having those things instilled, he was playing at a different level than a lot of our players. So I think what I want to do is firstly open the conversation and say, what do you guys think about what I've just spoken about the readiness of our clubs, the willingness of our clubs, the intentionality of our clubs? That's another one. Are we creating great players? Are we finding guys that are really good and just putting them into the club and having them coast on what they are? What do you guys think there in the comments? What do you guys think of what I'm saying right now? So I want to firstly open. But secondly, I'd love to implore coaches and players. Guys, there's nothing wrong with wanting to get better. There's nothing wrong with putting aside time. When they speak about Tom Brady and all of those guys, they say that, hey, when he was at home, have some time with his family, but for the most part, he'd be sitting there and he'd be going, okay, what did I do wrong last game? What did I do right last game? And if you are doing those things, please let us know as well, just so that we can fill in the blanks as fans too and not be unfair if that is the case. But can we take the job seriously? Can you find yourself striker coaches on your own and work on your craft, work on your finishing? Because sometimes in our league, it does look like, it's taking a little bit outside of the performing teams, Abo Sundowns club. Which leads me to the second thing that I want to speak about today. Sorry to interrupt the video that I'm sure you're enjoying, but I just wanted to say thank you for all of the support that you guys have shown me and my Overthinking Football platform. I'm a one-man band that's doing all of this, and I really do enjoy the comments about how, Supersport needs to come fetch me and SABC and all of that stuff. And I think it speaks to the quality of the content, but also the amount of effort that I put in. So I just wanted to say thank you. But the truth is that Abo Supersport and all of those guys, yes, we're competing with them, but it's a completely different place. The sponsors are looking for former players, and to be honest with you, running some of these things is getting so difficult, and things have changed at home. So financially, it's a whole different world. So I wanted to try something new and come to the overthinkers, the people who watch the content, and say it would be incredible if you guys could contribute monthly towards the platform, towards keeping my lights on, but also making sure that all of the crazy things that I want to do, that I want to take Supersport on with, I can actually do. And just for 20 Rand every month, I think that would be an incredible contribution if you can make it. It may sound like a little, but if we can get a lot of people behind it, then we'll be able to carry on doing what I do. I'll be able to carry on giving you the content and also expanding it, because we don't have shows like this, and us content creators need help from our audiences. So I just came here to ask you if you can. Here is the account number that you guys can use in order to contribute. And I think, yeah, I'd be very grateful if you would. But anyway, let's get back to the video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Kaizer Chiefs is being carried by youngsters. Abo Mfundo, Abo Zwane, Abo Shabalala. Shabalala has been carrying this team, or trying to carry this team. And in as much as on one side I'm really happy, like I'm really happy about Mfundo. I love Mfundo. I know you guys know that I love Mfundo because I think he embodies what it means to be a Chiefs player. He's not afraid of the limelight. He's not afraid of picking up his teammates. He's not afraid of the crowd. He's not afraid of the moment. He enjoys it, man. He thrives off of it. So Mfundo and those guys, when they are carrying a team, as much as we are happy, as much as we can see the light sometimes, as much as we are so stoked for them, the other question becomes, are we not stunting their growth and their development? Are we not holding them back? And I mean it in the sense that, you know, sometimes you are so good at something that people think that you don't need to go and build the other things that you need to have in order to become a complete player. So it's a matter of your natural ability, and it's a matter of he's hot right now. And when the hot wears off, or when the natural ability can't get you over the hill, by the time you get there, nobody's thought about the things that Utabo Monare was speaking about before. Nobody's thought about the boring parts of your game, the addition of the stuff that we need to add on to you so that you can be a more complete player. And then they die. So if you think about Nkosimpile Ngcobo, one of the brightest shining Chiefs players at some point, where is he now? You think about Abo Mashiane. Where are they now? You think about all of the other youth players that have come and died and left and whatever. Abo Khatebe, players that were there but never got a chance, but never got intentionally built. And what I want this part of the conversation to be about is the intentionality of the PSL as a whole. I asked the question, are we creating great players, or are we finding really good players and just coasting off of their talents until they die? And the Chiefs one is a very important question. For example, if Shabalala's job is to put Chiefs on his shoulders and go and find things, how much learning is happening at this point of his career? And like, should he have not learned other things at this point of his career? In a grander conversation, do we have places where players are getting better? And not game time, not I'm going to give him X amount of minutes. I mean markedly getting better. There's a handful of places, even for senior players. When you hear about Sundowns and you speak about Sundowns, the one thing you always hear is that, you know, a player arrives at Sundowns, then bampega man. Then you'll find that he was a right back, but now he's a right wing or a right center mid. Abo Sailor, bafike as one thing, now they are something else. Abo Mokoena, bafike as one thing, and now they are something else. They are better, they've improved. How many places do we have that improve players? How many teams have set plans for where they want to take each of the players in the squad from here to point A to point B? How many of the teams have that and are serious about it? We speak about our youth. How many teams are planning for the youth? Intentionally planning for the youth. Intentionally going, you know what? He's under 17 now. I sizomthatha simpege. and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do that. And there's a pathway. Umfukeng, for example, might be one of the luckiest youngsters in the league right now, Nabonkota, to find a team that is willing to give them time, but is also willing to put them into a structure that's already there. But even with him, I asked the question, has he markedly improved from this season, to this season from last season, or the season before that? A year is a very long time for a developing youth player. Or are we riding to let Umfukeng find his own ceiling and die off? And I know I'm speaking about the youth players, but I really want to speak about the league as a whole. Because outside of a Sundowns, outside of a Supersport, let's say, outside of maybe a Stellies, there aren't places to develop. And what's scary is that we are recycling half-developed players within the league. We just keep recycling the same half-developed players. No disrespect to the players. I'm not saying you're bad. But if you've never gotten a chance to go to Sundowns, or you've never gotten a chance to go to to Supersport, or you've never gotten the chance to go overseas, does that mean that your development has now stopped? And now you're a veteran in the league. Spacing, not there. Shooting, not there. Positioning, not there. Temperament, not there. The way you carry yourself, as Utabang Monare put it, not there. And again, no disrespect to those players, but now you sit with a league where Monare is one of the top players. He's playing for the national team, and he's saying that I got to the France game and I was overwhelmed. And that's a veteran. And that's a guy who will be signed by another team. He was signed, now he plays for his Kukune. And he's going to play for another team. And he's going to play for another team. He may not ever get that chance again to go play versus a France. 90% of the league is not going to get a chance to go and play against the big teams in order for their eyes to be opened, or for them to go and sit under a coach Hugo Bruce, and Hugo Bruce tells them, he told the story before that, no, but guys, you're not ready, basically, or we have to build that thing. 90% of the league is not going to be able to go to Mamelodi Sundowns or Pirates to go play African football, or Stellies to go play African football. So does that mean all of those guys, their careers just stall? And if they don't have the internal willpower to go and fight for that thing, the club doesn't have it either. I don't want to be disrespectful to people who are in the league, because some of them could make very great veterans. But there's some people who are starting now, who are playing now, and you're like, but guys, I don't understand. There's guys who are getting signed in these windows that you're like, you're just an average player. And now our league is filled with it. And now we see, oh, okay, hey, well, it's average people. And I'm not saying that every club has to go and bring me 15, 20 players that they've developed and whatever. But are you intentional with the squads that you have? That it's not just a survival thing. That you also have the good of the players in mind, especially the young ones. How many times did we cry at Kaizer Chiefs that, guys, if you're not going to play the youngsters, can you please let them go and get game time somewhere else? You cannot stall somebody's career on the bench just because Yashisa. Somebody was speaking about the Kaizer Chiefs. Guys, Kaizer Chiefs right now is not a developing team. Not only do they not have the time to develop those players, but the pressure is on. It's sink or swim. I don't have 12 games to give you, or 15 games a season to give you where you're finding yourself. But then I was like, it seems to be the same way across the league. Coaches can't keep jobs. Most of them are coaching for their lives. Nine Sundowns. Caruso doesn't have time to be developing people. That whole thing changed. And I want to harken back to one of the stories that I spoke about in one of the previous podcasts where Coach Pitso used to call players in and sit them down and teach them the game. We need more of that. I'm scared for these youngsters that are carrying teams at the expense of their own development. You can even look at it overseas. Think about your Sakas. Think about your Jack Wilshers. Think about guys who are naturally so good that they were put into pole position at their clubs. It never spun up. Think about Abotabang Monare and what he's saying right now. I love that he was honest. What he's saying about, okay, guys, Mina, I got there as a 20-what-year-old who's playing for one of the biggest clubs, and I learned real football. We need to be more intentional. The last thing I want to speak about is I want to be controversial for a little bit. Mamelodi Sundowns played AS FAR, and there seems to be some backlash on social media when we're speaking about them going 1-1. And people were saying that Sundowns has sold the game, allegedly. Sundowns has done this, Sundowns has done that. I wasn't happy with what they played. I wasn't there. What. There was a lot of things that were said. And for those who've watched this, or those who've watched my programming, my shows, you'll know, those who've seen my videos on YouTube, you'll know that this is a question I had from last season, where I said, as South Africans, are we ready? Are we ready to do what needs to be done to be African champions? Are we ready to be honest with ourselves? Are we ready to use everything that exists on and off the pitch in order to make sure that we're going to go win something? And everybody said the result is the most important thing. But yet here we are. Because think of the logic. I get the logic. I get it from two fronts. Number one, AS FAR is already qualified. Mamelodi Sundowns just needs a draw. At some point, AS FAR is playing away at Loftus. You can't be attacking full on out there because you're probably going to concede some goals. Mamelodi Sundowns doesn't want to go full on attack because if they concede and it becomes a 2-1 or 2-0 or 3-1, then Iraja has a door to come into. So at some point, the teams just looked at each other and said, guys, why do I need to push? Why push right now? I can just relax. Let's see out the game, shake hands. If we see each other in the future, we'll see each other in the future. So that's the one side of it, where I'm like, a business decision was made. I'm not against it. Is it wrong? I don't think so. The other side is also true. Try as Mamelodi Sundowns have over the past few years. It's 8 years since they won that Champions League. They've done everything. They've done beautiful football. They've done tiki-taka. They've done box entries. Hey, but they've signed international players. They've brought local players. Hey, all of these things. But they have not been able to win. So can you blame Mamelodi Sundowns for looking at the group, looking at their paper and saying, if it's 1-1, we finish second. We do have a good record when playing our away games second. So what if we use it? What if we just decide right now that 1-1? I think that is incredibly matured of a team to do. For a team to say, you know what, guys, let's not be gung-ho about this thing. Dominating everything doesn't mean anything. Sundowns has been dominating Africa for a while. One of the most feared teams. But that domination has not come with stars. It came with an AFL. That's the closest. Meanwhile, those other guys who are really pragmatic, are stacking star upon star upon star upon star. Look at Ahly. How many times do we sit here and say they play the most ugliest football? How many times do you sit here and you watch a semi-final or a final of the CAF Champions League and you watch two teams being cagey? Both of them are defensive. They're just looking to pounce on a mistake and go home. They're not looking to overwhelm somebody and stay on the ball and be attacking 90 minutes and all of that stuff. They do their calculations. You know what, guys? There's no need to push when we go to South Africa or we go away. There's no need to push. Let's get a draw there and try win our home game. Which is Winanjani. Pesitau has what? Two Champions Leagues? Would you say that Pesitau was playing the most scintillating football at Alak? No. So is it wrong for Mamelodi Sundowns to really go, you know what, guys? Let's stop being power pack team. Let's be pragmatic. When it's 1-1 and we're going to the last 10 minutes, let's hold the ball. ASFAR obliged, because I think they came to that agreement on the pitch that, you know what, neither of us need to push right now. Let's just play the most boring last 10 minutes and finish off the game. And we both qualify. It's fine. But yet us as fans, we still have that thing that we want it to be beautiful. How dare you sit back and look nervous? How dare you sit back and not know what you want to do? How dare you not want to go score 7 goals? And maybe that's our problem. Because 30 years since Pirates won the first star, we've only ever been able to get one more on top. Just one. That means all of the teams that have gone through, let's look at a couple. The Kaizer Chiefs guys that were very well, but we got banned. The Bidvest, the Super Sports, the Pirates teams that were great, the Sundowns teams that were great. In 25 years, our meaning Rangers, our Santos, in 25 years, we've only gotten 2 stars. Sorry, in 30 years. Maybe it's time for us to be honest and say, "Hi, ngathi bola lethu alisebenzi. I'm too young for 95, but in 2016, Sundowns was not playing Shushan and piano in these things. They were fighting and brawling and grit to get out of there. They had soldiers. Everybody keeps telling me about the soldiers. They didn't play beautiful football. Now, bafana, 3rd place AFCON. We haven't done that since what? The early 2000s. Was the football great and flowing and passing and all of that stuff? So maybe, just maybe, this is the best way to go about this thing. Be a fighting, grit team over a beautiful team that doesn't bring anything home. Do you know what made me really proud about that game at Loftus? What made me really proud, and I know a lot of people will not agree with me. The lasers. Mamelodi Sundowns fans came with lasers. Mamelodi Sundowns fans wanted to create a hostile environment. Because the other part of that coin is, I think we have been, as Southern African teams, we have been so friendly. Nicest hotels, nicest travel, nicest pitches, nicest times, you know. We'll make a noise, but there'll be nobody trying to blind you when you're taking a free kick. But now I saw a team, even a fan base, that is willing to do what needs to be done. And sometimes you have to be the bad guy. Do you think Al Ahly cares about everything everybody says about the lasers, about the smoke, about the fireworks, about the hostile environment, about any of those things? Do you think that they care when they sit back and they say, team of the century? When they sit back and say, yeah, another star's in the bag. Do you think they care about the delays of the game, or people criticizing them for the delays of the game, for the player acting for the ref, allegedly, for things that we say that they do? Do you think that they care? They've got 12 of them. Zamalek's got 5. TP Mazembe's got 5. Bo ES Tunis, Bo Wheat have got multiple. The North. We've got 2 as a country. So maybe, just maybe, we need to put aside our little patriotism, our little love for our football. I did a video where I said, if we are not willing to properly investigate and build and make this football world class, we're going to keep getting beaten with it. And if you're not willing to do that, Naba Bruce, they showed you how to play. Naba Arab, they're showing you how to play, how to win this thing. Am I somebody who's for the dark arts and things like that? Hey man, in a perfect world, you wouldn't need all of that. But in this one, when somebody just touches you and they give away a foul, you need to remind the ref. 3 times, ref, 3 times. Sometimes you may need to roll. Sometimes you may need to commit a foul in order to stop a counterattack. Sometimes you have to shine lasers into people's eyes. Maybe that's how you win this. And I think I was a little bit concerned with everybody speaking about Sundowns selling the game and all of that stuff. A business decision was made. Oh, Sundowns doesn't play that football. Yeah, look at a business decision was made. You've lost way more times with that football than you've won. So is it really all that? Is our football really all that? Or is it a case similar to the previous conversations we're having, where we have this innate natural ability that we ride until they break, and we're unwilling to add other things to the game to take us over the top? There's no doubt that I would argue Abo Mbappe have similar talent levels as Abo Mfukeng. But the talent is not what gets you over the line when you're playing in those leagues for those countries at that level. You could argue that bar for bar, South Africa has more talent than what is up there in the north in terms of natural ability. But natural ability is not what gets you over the line when you're going out to go play against other people. Not unless you are willing to invest heavily into it. Second topic. What I said there about the teams not developing, not wanting to create the environment, rings true. So maybe this is how you do it. And maybe ugly is the way you're meant to do it. And ugly is the way that you must go about it. Maybe ugly is not ugly. The results don't think our football is beautiful. The stats don't think our football is beautiful. The trophies don't think our football is beautiful. You think those guys are losing sleep over trying to play like us? So can we get grimier? Can we get grittier? Can we fight? Winning CAF and winning those things, I believe, is not about the tactic that you put on there. It's about moments, it's about managing those moments, and then it's about also having a little bit of darkness in you. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you on the next one.